Hello and welcome to live post-match reaction to the Chiefs versus the Sunwolves, and this one finished 15-30. Yes, that's right. The Sunwolves have got their first ever away what they're calling it, their first ever away win, but they have won home games in Hong Kong and Singapore before. But it's their first win sort of outside of Asia, at least, by the Sunwolves. Fantastic performance by them tonight. To beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs really started this game as they meant to basically go on, with Damon McKenzie was kicking out on the full from the start. Yes, that's right. We had an error-strewn game, particularly in that first half from the Chiefs. One of the things the Chiefs really did not do well this evening in that first half was protecting was defending around the ruck. Now, you could argue that some of the players who picked the ball up and ran through were part of the ruck, and they're not allowed to do that. You're supposed to come from behind. But once you know the ref's interpretation and how he's playing the game, you need to adapt to it. And the Chiefs really did not do that. And that was their fault, not the referees by any stretch of the imagination. So the defending around that ruck was really poor. And what that meant was that we saw Webber in the end have to try and make 11 tackles by covering for other people. And other forwards just weren't in the right place or weren't filling gaps. And that was causing problems. The Sunwolves, said Dave, say pick and go through that ruck. Where no one was guarding it. The Chiefs' defence then's in 6s and 7s as they'd been got behind, and the Sunwolves went over for their opening try from memory out wide. The Chiefs were then just giving up line breaks, giving up penalties. They were really in a mess, and after a long injury break for the Sunwolves 13, who unfortunately had to go off on a stretcher, they had given up another penalty that allowed Hayden Parker to kick themselves to 10 points, 10-0 lead after only 4 minutes. The Chiefs, I say, errors. We had they lost the kicking battle by kicking out on the full, but they were lucky that the Sunwolves gave a penalty to come back. The defence, particularly that 1-2-3 positions next to the ruck, was totally unconnected, with players rushing up, allowing little passes either inside or outside to create breaks through the holes. Now they did start to tighten that up after about 50 minutes, and also their line-out was all over the shop. The stats might say that they won all their lineouts, but from memory, that is not the case. The stats only say that the Chiefs lost one lineout, but that's absolute rubbish. They had 16 lineouts in this game. They lost a fair few of them. To give you an idea as to the state of mind that the Chiefs were in, that on 21 minutes, when they had the opportunity to take 3, they did. And at half time, when they were talking to the coach, he was saying they'd only had the ball for like 5 minutes in that first half, which just shows you how much the Sunwolves really dominated that first half. From set piece, they were very happy to spin the ball wide, and because the Chiefs don't employ a blitzer in one of their centres, in either 12 or 13 jersey, that meant, and obviously you play your winger deep in case there's a kick. That meant they were able to get round the defence and quite often make ground as that winger charged up to mark the winger. Also, they have a very big winger, and he took some putting down, so he quite often he would get ground as well. So from both scrums and also lineouts, the Sunwolves were able to make profit, and with the number of knock-ons they had in that first half. The Sunwolves end up with 10 scrums all game, but from memory, at least 6 or 7 of those were in the first half, where there only 1 for the Chiefs or something like that. And the Chiefs got all their scrums pretty much in the second half, so they were given the Sunwolves really had the opportunity to make some serious ground there. The Sunwolves then picked up another Another penalty after 24 minutes. Someone's basically going through the maul, and the Chiefs just not guarding it again, which so whilst they tidied it up, they didn't tidy it up really properly until half time. Then they used that width from first phase to get themselves a try on the half-hour mark, and then another penalty on 34 minutes, which basically gave the half-time lead of 3-23. Now the Chiefs did have a couple of breaks, but both times in that first half, they broke down with knock-ons. So they could have scored. Maybe they had about 2 opportunities in that first half. So they only had the ball for 5 minutes, and they squandered both of them. So half-time, and the question really was, could the Chiefs tidy up their play, remove the errors, clean up their discipline, and would the Sunwolves tire, or would they go into their shells? They definitely didn't tire. They did go into their shells a little bit, and we saw that in possession and territory. So first half, the Sunwolves had 65% possession, 71% territory. In the second half, only 35% possession, 35% territory. So, the Chiefs got a lot more territory and possession in that second half, purely because they just weren't knocking the ball on for a large part. But the Sunwolves were defending really, really well. I mean, in that first half, there was over 100 tackles made by the Chiefs, and in the end, they made 158. Which shows you that basically in that second half, they had to make very few tackles, and something pretty much the diametric opposite for the Sunwolves. They made about 40 to 50 odd tackles in the first half, and then about 100 in the second half. But they held their line, and they caused they caused problems for the Chiefs. We did have one very typical DMAC sort of Chiefs or Kiwi style play. I mean, you see Bone Barrett making this sort of style as well. Off a line out, chip over the top, with the 13 charging through, collecting the ball and putting it underneath the posts, and that pulled things back to 10-23. And suddenly there was thoughts of, could the Chiefs be on the comeback here? But again, we had just more errors from them. We had Damon McKenzie kicked it out. Kicked it too long, went straight through the in goal, which gave up possession and territory to the Sunwolves. Later on, we had Stevenson knocking on a high ball, and then lucky that the Sunwolves knocked on just as they were about to put the ball over the line. That didn't last so very long though, as the Sunwolves came back from the clearing kick at that resulting scrum. Went out to the left, had a maul, came back to the right. The ball got bobbled a bit. Sometimes the ball goes your way, and over they went for a try. And at 10:30, basically that was it. It was game over. You couldn't really see on 56 minutes. Sure, we still had another 24 minutes to go. Teams have scored that many points, but these Chiefs were nowhere linked up. The game plan was all wrong. There was no chance for them to come back. They had a really prolonged period of pressure, and eventually got over for a try. But when you're taking 5 or so minutes of prolonged pressure to get that try, and you're playing comeback rugby, you know you're in some real trouble. And then that's how it finished. I mean, that was on 63 minutes. They still needed to score 3 more times because Damon McKenzie missed the conversion from out wide. That try came from a scrum that again was disrupted, but they managed to get the ball out. And the winger did an awful lot of work to get over. In the end, the penalty count was massively in the Chiefs' favour as well. They gave up 4 penalties. The Sunwolves gave up 14. A lot of those in that second half. They did get a warning, and maybe they should have picked up a yellow card at some point. The Chiefs in the first half similarly were giving up lots and lots of advantages, but the Sunwolves were taking those advantages, and hence that's why the penalty count was lower. The Komatsu kids, how much would you say the Chiefs lost it compared to the Wolves winning it? Probably about 50-50, to be honest with you. The Sunwolves played some very good attacking rugby they're very positive about the way they were attacking, but the Chiefs really didn't put up much of a defence. They left gaps. They left far too easy gaps around the ruck. they left. They made far too many handling errors in this game. Turnovers, 22 turnovers by the Chiefs compared to 13 by the Sunwolves. Now, the Sunwolves have to take advantage of those. You've got to give the Sunwolves credit here. They look very good with the ball. They made a lot of good decisions. They made some good play. But the Chiefs also, as I say, didn't really give them much opposition at times, especially in that first half. So, yes, the Sunwolves deserved their victory. This wasn't a matter of the Chiefs losing the game entirely, but I say the Chiefs' error count was way high, allowing the Sunwolves took full advantage of those and needed to. Players that stood out, because we also want to get on to watch the Reds versus the Crusaders. Parker hit all his kicks as he always does, which is very good. The Little showed a lot of that leadership that they need in there, or that you need in any team. Sorry, which the Chiefs were clearly lacking. Which winger was it again? Is it Heaver? I think it was a big boy, 128 metres running with ball. He caused all sorts of problems for that Chiefs defence. They really needed to get low and get him and chop him down, but they failed to do that. Emery pretty decent at the back as well, and then amongst the forwards, Hilu, 11 carries, 54 metres. Tui, 14 carries. I mean, they got through a chunk of work in the forwards as well. On defence, yep, Little was one of the top. Then Thompson got through a bunch of tackles as well. Jamie Booth, when he came on, was good, running things, but so was the Japanese scrum half Shinego before he went off as well. On the Chiefs side, well, obviously they all got through a lot of work. Retallick had to go off at half time because he'd run out of minutes. He had 180 minutes in the first 3 games for the All Blacks, and they're also only supposed to play 4 games on the trot. So that's going to be a big thing going forwards, especially for the thinner squads, such as the such as the Chiefs. They are going to struggle. Karpik, we saw a lot of his blonde hair around the place. Obviously, Allardyce also got through a lot of work. I've mentioned also that Webber was cleaning up for a lot of the work the forwards weren't doing, which was bad. In the centres, Nakivelli was good on defence and also on attack. He got through a lot of work, got some good runs going. And obviously Stevenson and Wainuit look good when they've got ball in hand. But their opportunities were few and far between. Dane McKenzie, perhaps a bit too lateral but going both ways. And yeah, he's going to need to straighten that up going forwards. Komachi Kid asked, not too much banter about the referee on Twitter. No dramas there. Absolutely no dramas there at all. No, the Argentinian ref was very good this evening. Had things under control. No particular questionable decisions throughout. Sure, there'll be 1 or 2 things you could, I'm sure if you nitpick through it, that you could say, hey, you got that wrong, or hey, you got this wrong. But he made a lot less errors than any of the players on the pitch. So no, yeah, he had a good game tonight. No problems with the referee as well. Alex talks about number 20 for the Japanese side, which was Jay Moore. No, he couldn't have been Jay Moore because he didn't come on and do anything. But that's who should be in that. Look at my stats on my team sheet. Should have been in the 20 jersey. So I'm not sure who was there. Obviously, Dan Pryor came on and Jamie Booth came on out there. Simon, yet the referee was fine this evening. So there we go. Congratulations to Sunwolves. History has been made. Definite deserved winners in this one. The Chiefs, third loss on the trot. Are basically they're pretty much out of playoff contention already. I think everyone's basically saying, the big question marks as to where do they go from here this season. They've had a bunch of injuries. They had a bunch of injuries last year. This year, though, there's a serious lack of leadership in that Chiefs team. For the Sunwolves, congratulations on the win. That's fantastic for them to get that away win. What is also, especially after those 2 losses, home losses that they've had coming into this, what's going to be really interesting is when their Japanese internationals all return after round 5, and how they mix with the international contingent that they're predominantly playing at the moment, because the Japanese international team are all on training camp, on Rugby World Cup training camp for the first 5 rounds. So yeah, the side that we see from Sunwolves for the first 5 weeks, and then from onwards is going to be very different, and it's going to be interesting to see how that transition works. Thank you very much for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe up there if you're watching the recording. Down there's a link to Patreon, where you can support me so I can bring you all this free content. And over there will be 2 videos that the YouTube algorithm says you'll absolutely adore. For those of you watching live, thank you very much for watching me live. DrivingMaul, patreon.com/DrivingMaul to get access to some exclusive content that I do, and also support me to bring this free content. And let's go watch the Reds versus the Crusaders.